Those seats are for people who actually belong in first class." The flight attendant's words sliced through the cabin air like a blade. Melissa's posture was deliberate, her presence a barricade between the black teenage twins and the other passengers. It was 8 minutes before takeoff on Flight 937, and Lisa and Rose Jameson froze, shock etched across their faces. As she snatched their boarding passes from their hands and held them at arm's length as though they were radioactive, "There must be some mistake," she announced loudly, drawing startled glances from nearby travelers. When Lisa rose to explain, the attendant recoiled with a grimace. Raising her hand in a silent command, "Please stay seated until we resolve this situation." Then, with almost cinematic precision, she pivoted to a white businessman in the aisle. Her entire demeanor shifted, the backbone straightened, her voice softened, a smile blossomed. "I'm so sorry for the delay, sir. Your proper first-class accommodations will be ready momentarily." The supervisor arrived shortly after, never once meeting the girl's eyes, his nod directed toward economy class. "You two need to move now. We're preparing for takeoff." And what the crew didn't know. Their father had spent $7,842 for those tickets as a graduation gift. What the businessman didn't know. Dr. William Jameson wasn't just a concerned parent calling the airline. He was the newly appointed Director of Safety Compliance for Sky Meridian Global, the parent company of Sky Meridian. Airlines with the authority to ground entire fleets with a single decision. By the time Captain Michael Reynolds received that call at 11:42 a.m., the color had drained from his face. By 11:57, the twins Warren T just back in first class. They were witnessing a performance of respect that would linger in their memories forever. The businessman never saw it coming. Lisa and Rose had earned this moment. 4 years of straight A's, research projects that had caught the attention of university professors, countless late nights immersed in study. They had achieved what only 2.4% of applicants managed: acceptance to the International Youth Science Summit in Geneva, Switzerland. Their breakthrough research on sustainable water filtration systems had impressed the selection committee enough to warrant a personal call from the program director, Dr. William Jameson. Watching his daughters flourish, despite the microaggressions and challenges of their predominantly white high school, knew this milestone deserved something extraordinary. Position is temporary. Dignity is permanent, he had always told them. This time, he wanted to show them what dignity truly looked like. These first-class tickets weren't just a luxury, they were a statement. $7,842 for both seats. Purchased 73 days in advance. Logged meticulously in his leather notebook with confirmation numbers, employee names, and transaction details. Dr. Jameson's career in safety compliance had taught him that documentation was more than record-keeping. It was power in waiting. That morning, he reviewed their travel documents one more time. Each line reflecting the precision honed over years of evaluating aircraft safety protocols. "Everything is in order," Dr. Jameson assured them, sliding the boarding passes into a sleek leather portfolio. "You've earned this. Remember that." He added their acceptance letters to the portfolio. Contingency plans, he called them, though the twins weren't entirely sure what he meant. The faint, knowing smile tugging at the corner of his mouth suggested he hoped they'd never need to find out. At the airport, heads turned as the twins navigated the premium check-in line. Lisa noticed the subtle glances, the quiet evaluations they had grown all too accustomed to throughout their lives. Rose, ever direct and unflinching, met each look with a polite, disarming smile that seemed to say, "Yes, we belong here." Their acceptance to the International Youth Science Summit was the culmination of years of dedication, and the boarding passes in their hands were far more than a symbol of luxury. They were a testament to achievement. The Sky Meridian first-class lounge enveloped them in plush seating. Soft lighting and attentive service, though Lisa couldn't help noticing how the attendant had double-checked their passes before granting them entry. When boarding was announced, they approached the gate with quiet confidence, documentation in hand. Neither Lisa nor Rose could have predicted how swiftly their dream journey would spiral into a nightmare, nor the subtle, yet masterful display of injustice that awaited. The first-class cabin of Flight 937 gleamed with polished surfaces and buttery leather. Only 12 premium seats, arranged in 4 perfect rows of 3. Lisa and Rose settled into 3A and 3B, sliding their meticulously packed carry-ons into the overhead compartments. Can you believe we're actually here? Lisa whispered, her fingers tracing the wood grain armrest, as if grounding herself in the moment. Rose smiled, already flipping through the premium menu. Dad really went all out, she murmured. Their celebration lasted exactly 4 minutes and 27 seconds. Excuse me? The flight attendant, name tag reading Melissa, appeared beside their seats. The professional smile didn't quite reach her eyes. There seems to be some confusion. These are premium seats. The words were measured, polite, but the undertone was unmistakable. We know, Rose replied, reaching for the leather portfolio. We have first-class tickets? Here are our boarding passes. Melissa took the documents, studying them with a frown. She checked the names, then glanced at the twins again, her eyes quickly evaluating their jeans and Stanford sweatshirts. Let me just verify this with my supervisor, she said, walking away, boarding passes still in hand. Lisa felt the familiar knot tighten in her stomach. This isn't happening again, she whispered to Rose. 3 minutes later, Melissa returned, flanked by a male flight attendant, Brian. Behind them stood a white man in his 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, a laptop bag slung casually over one shoulder. Edward Harrington, though the twins didn't know his name yet. Ladies, there appears to be an issue with the booking system, the male attendant explained, his tone a blend of bureaucratic inevitability and detachment. We need to reseat you to resolve a double booking. Rose straightened. We boarded first. Our passes scanned correctly. If there's a double booking, shouldn't the later arrival be reseated? The attendant's smile tightened. Company policy prioritizes our frequent platinum members in these situations. Mr. Harrington flies with us weekly, Lisa began. It's just economy, dear. Same destination. Melissa cut in, already reaching for their carry-ons. We need to finish boarding now. Edward Harrington stepped forward, still not addressing the twins directly. Is there a problem with my seats? He asked, as though they were invisible. No problem at all, Mr. Harrington. We're resolving it now, Melissa assured him. As Lisa and Rose gathered their belongings, Rose noticed the other passengers watching, some uncomfortable, some indifferent, none intervening. They were escorted through first class, past business, and finally into economy, where they were unceremoniously assigned seats. 27F and 27G, a middle and window seat near the rear of the aircraft. The symbolism isn't lost on me, Rose muttered as they squeezed into the significantly narrower seats. Lisa fought back tears of frustration, gripping the armrest tightly. Dad always said to document everything, she whispered, pulling out her phone. And that's exactly what I'm doing, Rose replied, her fingers flying across the screen, crafting a message that would soon set extraordinary events into motion. She included their seat numbers, the time 11:38 a.m., and the names of both flight attendants. The precision and level of detail would have made their father proud. The economy cabin buzzed with pre-departure energy. Flight attendants rushed down the aisles for final checks, while passengers settled into their cramped quarters. Lisa stared out the small oval window, her reflection revealing eyes bright with unshed tears. Rose was still typing furiously, documenting every frustrating detail of the encounter they had just endured. Send it to Dad? Lisa asked quietly. Already did. Timestamps, names, the works. A gentle tap on the armrest interrupted them. A younger flight attendant, name tag reading Olivia, leaned down slightly. Orange juice or water before takeoff. Her voice was professionally pleasant, yet something in her expression flickered a trace of unease. As she handed them plastic cups of orange juice, her voice dropped to just above a whisper. I saw what happened up front. It shouldn't have gone down like that. The twins exchanged glances. Rose spoke first. Then why did it? Olivia glanced over her shoulder, eyes scanning for supervisors. Melissa does this sometimes, especially with passengers she thinks won't complain. The man she gave your seats to is a corporate executive who brings a lot of business to the airline. So that makes it okay? Lisa asked, the edge in her voice unmistakable. No, it doesn't, Olivia replied, her directness catching them off guard. It's actually against procedure. If there's a genuine double booking, we're supposed to check the timestamp of purchase. Your seats were confirmed months ago, weren't they? Rose nodded, 73 days ago to be exact. Olivia's eyebrows lifted at the precision. Then you should still be in 3A and 3B. She hesitated, then made a decision. From her pocket, she pulled a small notepad, scribbled something quickly, and slipped it into Rose's hand. Your father should know about employee number SM42718. That's me, Olivia whispered. Some of us don't agree with what happened. If he files a complaint, I'll confirm your story. The notepad contained not just her employee number, but also her last name and the date of the incident. Sometimes courage comes in whispers, threaded between official announcements. Thank you, Lisa said, genuine gratitude warming her voice. Olivia nodded, then straightened as another crew member passed by. In a louder, official tone, she added, "We'll be taking off shortly. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened." Once she left, Rose immediately added Olivia's information to her growing documentation. "This changes things," she murmured. "How?" Lisa asked. "Because now we know it wasn't just rudeness. It was against their own rules." 15 minutes later, Olivia passed by again, carrying a tray of premium refreshments normally reserved for business class. With a conspiratorial smile, she slipped them each a packaged gourmet cookie and a real glass of sparkling water. "From first class," she said quietly, her hands trembling ever so slightly as she handed them the treats. "It's not much, but small acts of defiance carry their own kind of bravery." The airline's procedural handbook was clear on passenger rights. Olivia knew this wasn't just wrong, it was actionable. In the delicate calculus of justice, allies in unexpected places can tip the scales. The twins weren't alone anymore, and that knowledge bolstered their resolve as the plane prepared for departure. At 11:40 a.m., with cabin doors now closed and the safety demonstration underway, Rose made the call. Keeping her voice low and phone angled away from the aisle, she whispered, "Dad, we have a situation." Dr. William Jameson was still at the airport, having arrived early to see his daughters off properly. His voice came through the line steady and measured, the kind of calm born not of indifference, but of someone who knew exactly which levers to pull when the moment demanded it. "Tell me what happened. Start with the facts." Rose obeyed. Her narrative was precise, chronological, almost clinical in its clarity. She detailed the exact time they boarded, their seat numbers, the names of the flight attendants, and the verbatim explanations they had been given. Lisa leaned in to add observations about Harrington's demeanor, his interaction with the crew. "And now we're in 27F and 27G, Rose concluded. Economy. Near the back, there was a brief silence. Then Dr. Jameson's voice returned, calm but sharp-edged. "Do you have your acceptance letters for the summit in your carry-ons?" "Yes," Lisa replied softly. "In the leather portfolio you gave us." "Good. What is the flight number again?" "SM937. And the departure time?" "12:15 p.m. The flight attendants who moved you their names and, if possible, their employee numbers." "Melissa and a male attendant named Brian?" "We don't have their numbers," Rose said. "But another attendant, Livia, employee number SM42718, told us it was against procedure. She gave us her information voluntarily." A faint sound of approval hummed through the line. "You've documented this well. I'm proud of you both." His questions came with surgical precision, methodical, like steps in a protocol the twins didn't yet understand. Lisa noticed the scratch of a pen in the background, her father writing down the exact time, 11:42 a.m. The care of someone who knew the weight that timestamp might carry. "Dad, should we say something to the captain?" Lisa asked, her voice wavering slightly. "Try to get our seats back?" "No," Dr. Jameson replied firmly. "This isn't your responsibility to fix. You've already done your part by documenting everything correctly." "But the flight is about to leave," Rose protested. "In 33 minutes. "That's plenty of time," their father answered, and there was something in his voice unfamiliar to them. It's not anger, certainty, an authority that left no room for doubt. "Here's what I need you to do," he continued. "Stay in your assigned seats for now. Be polite to all crew members, especially Olivia. If anyone asks why you were moved, state the facts, but don't elaborate. Don't escalate. Don't argue." "So we just accept it?" Lisa asked, her disappointment raw. "No, Lisa," Dr. Jameson said, his voice low, steady, and burning with quiet conviction. "We address it properly. Sometimes power speaks loudest when it doesn't raise its voice at all." The twins exchanged glances, certain but trusting. "One more thing," their father added. "If anyone approaches you in the next 20 minutes with questions about your seating, answer honestly. But do not volunteer information about this call." Understood? Yes, they replied in unison. Good. In moments of injustice, family becomes both fortress and force. He had told them this before when they had faced subtle discrimination at school. But this time, there was something heavier behind the words. A certainty that action was already unfolding. Rose hesitated, then asked, "What are you going to do?" The answer came without hesitation. "I'm going to make 3 phone calls, and I'm going to finish my coffee and wait." The confidence in his voice was absolute, not the hollow bluster of empty threats, but the certainty of a man who knew exactly what machinery was about to grind into motion. "Remember what I've always told you," he added. "Position is temporary, dignity is permanent," Lisa recited softly. "Exactly," her father affirmed. "Document everything, girls. I'll handle the rest." The call ended, leaving the twins suspended between uncertainty and anticipation. Something was about to happen, though they couldn't yet imagine what. All they knew was that their father's calm had never felt so deliberate, so purposeful. The minutes before departure usually followed a sacred choreography, a rhythm of efficiency that rarely faltered. But Flight 937's script was about to be rewritten. Inside the cockpit, Captain Michael Reynolds reviewed his final checklists. 25 years of flying had taught him that the window between door closure and takeoff was inviolable. It was ritual where precision dictated every action. "Full flight today," he remarked at 11:45 a.m., 30 minutes before scheduled departure, glancing once more at the passenger manifest. 147 passengers, 12 in first class. "Weather looks clear all the way to Geneva," the first officer replied, eyes on the instrument readings. "Ain't time departure looking good." Meanwhile, in the airport terminal, Dr. William Jameson sat in a quiet corner near gate B-17. He opened his leather-bound notebook, reviewing the meticulous details his daughters had given him. He made 3 precise notations in ink. Then, at exactly 11:42 a.m., he dialed not 1 call, but 3. The first call was merely the foundation. "This is Dr. William Jameson," he said evenly to the customer service representative who answered the Sky Meridian priority line. "I need to report a procedural violation on flight SM937, currently at gate B-17. My confirmation number is KJ29765. Please connect me to your supervisor immediately." The representative began the standard apology script, but Dr. Jameson's interruption was quiet, razor-sharp. "This is not a complaint. This is a safety compliance notification that requires immediate escalation. Connect me to your supervisor now." Something in his tone, the certainty, not the anger, triggered an instinctive response. Within 30 seconds, he was speaking to a department supervisor. Within 2 minutes, he was on the line with the airline's regional operations director. "Lois, I understand this is unexpected," he said smoothly, addressing her by her first name, though they had never met. "But as I explained to your team, this isn't only about my daughters being removed from their confirmed first-class seats. This is about procedural compliance and what it reveals about operational discipline on Flight 937. Back on the aircraft, at 11:48 a.m., Captain Reynolds was interrupted by a sharp chime from the cockpit communication system. "Message from operations," the first officer noted. "Marked urgent." Reynolds frowned. "Ground issues again? We're on schedule for once." He tapped the screen, expecting the usual delay notification or weather advisory. Instead, his eyes widened as he read the message, stamped with the authority of the regional director's office. "Urgent verification required on passenger manifest for SM937. Possible unauthorized seat reassignment. Details forthcoming. Hold departure." "What the hell?" Reynolds muttered, checking his watch. Departure 12:15. Current time 11:49. Time, however, was the least of his problems. "Get me the chief flight attendant now." As the chief attendant hurried toward the cockpit, Dr. Jameson was already on his second call. This one bypassed all channels, going straight to Sky Meridian's corporate headquarters. "Janet, it's William Jameson." "Yes, I realize it's unexpected. I'm calling because I need to speak with Marcus." A pause on the line. "Yes, I understand he's in a meeting. This concerns potential regulatory documentation for flight SM937, currently preparing for departure. I'll hold." Inside the cockpit, Captain Reynolds' patience was unraveling. The chief flight attendant stood before him, explaining with faltering confidence. You moved to confirmed first-class passengers to accommodate a standby upgrade without checking time-stop priority. His expression hardened, voice slicing through the cabin's mechanical hum. Melissa said it was standard procedure for Platinum members, the attendant offered, though her certainty was fading fast. It is absolutely not standard procedure, Reynolds snapped. Get me the paperwork on this reassignment immediately. At 11:52 a.m., exactly 23 minutes before scheduled departure, Dr. Jameson placed his third and final call. This one went directly to the airline's operations center. This is Dr. William Jameson for Captain Michael Reynolds on flight SM-937, he said, his voice as measured as a scalpel. I need to speak with him immediately regarding a safety compliance issue. Sir, we can't connect passengers to the flight deck, the operations controller replied mechanically. I'm not calling as a passenger, Dr. Jameson countered, tone steady but unyielding. I'm calling in my capacity as the incoming Director of Safety Compliance for Sky Meridian Global. My employee ID is NADAM 78942. This is now a documented regulatory incident. Airline hierarchies are rigid, but one truth is universal. A call from safety compliance outranks almost everything. The controller, now fully alert, placed him on hold for less than 30 seconds. Then, Captain Reynolds' voice came through tight, professional, wary. This is Captain Reynolds. Operations says you're calling about a compliance issue? Captain, this is Dr. William Jameson, Director of Safety Compliance. I understand your flight has experienced an unauthorized seating protocol violation involving passengers. Lisa and Rose Jameson in seats 3A and 3B. There was a pause, weighted with realization. We're looking into a seating issue right now, Reynolds admitted cautiously. Yes, Captain, Dr. Jameson continued, calm as stone. I need you to understand the seriousness of the situation. This incident has now been logged as a formal compliance review. I am documenting all aspects, including response times and corrective actions. Reynolds checked his watch again. 12:15 departure. Current time, 11:54. His nerves tightened. Then a new message flashed across his cockpit screen. This one from Sky Meridian's Vice President of Operations, stamped urgent. Immediate action required. As he opened it, his eyes froze. The email was a formal introduction of Dr. William Jameson as the company's new Director of Safety Compliance effective 3 days ago. Attached was his photo. The blood drained from Reynolds' face as the pieces fell into place. The seating violation, the compliance calls, the timing. This was no ordinary passenger. Dr. Jameson, he said finally, voice measured. I'm investigating this situation personally. May I ask? What is your relationship to passengers, Lisa and Rose Jameson? They're my daughters, Captain, came the calm reply. And they, currently seated in 27F and 27G, instead of their confirmed first-class accommodations in 3A and 3B, which they were removed from approximately 20 minutes ago. At 11:56 a.m., Captain Reynolds' expression shifted annoyance, collapsing into something pale and ashen as he stared at his cockpit screen. Get me Harrington's seat assignment right now, he barked at his first officer. And find those girls immediately. By 11:57 a.m., the revelation detonated like a thunderclap inside the cockpit. This is Dr. William Jameson, recently appointed Director of Safety Compliance for Sky Meridian Global. My employee ID is NADAM SM78942, and those are my daughters. Reynolds' grip locked around the phone, his knuckles whitening. The name had nagged at him earlier, tugging at the edge of memory. Now it hit with full force. Sessesola sen I said as Ellen Sev sen Selen sen sen and sen 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 seven sen 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 sen. The company-wide memo had gone out. Dr. Jameson was taking charge of the airline's entire safety certification program. The role came with authority heavy enough to ground aircraft or, in extreme cases, whole fleets. Dr. Jameson, Reynolds said quickly, his voice stripped of its earlier edge, replaced by crisp deference. I want to personally assure you this situation will be rectified immediately. I had no knowledge of this seating issue until just moments ago. I understand, Captain, Jameson replied evenly. Documentation indicates this was a flight attendant decision, however. As you know, procedural violations often indicate systemic issues. The words hit like ice water, systemic issues. The phrase every captain dreaded. The phrase that triggered investigations, board meetings, and the gaze of the FAA itself. I've already initiated a preliminary compliance review, Dr. Jameson continued, calm but unrelenting. The incident report will include response timestamps and corrective actions taken. Of course, Reynolds answered, jaw tight. I'm implementing corrective measures as we speak. The cockpit door swung open. The chief flight attendant entered, her face shadowed with concern. Reynolds covered the mouthpiece with one hand. Find Melissa and Brian now. Get those girls back to first class. But Mr. Harrington, she began, voice hesitant. He's about to be reseated. Reynolds cut her off sharply. Priority protocol was violated. Move him immediately. The attendant hurried out, tension stamped across her shoulders. Reynolds returned to the line. Dr. Jameson, we're moving your daughters back to their rightful seats as we speak. I'll personally ensure they're accommodated for the remainder of the flight. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate your prompt attention. Please note my concern is not special treatment for my daughters. My concern is protocol. The abandonment of procedures today suggests a concerning pattern. Reynolds winced at the word. In compliance language, pattern was dangerous. It meant full-scale reviews, the kind that often rearranged leadership charts. I assure you, this is not typical of our operations, he said quickly. I'll be conducting a full crew briefing after landing. I'm glad to hear it, Jameson replied. I'll remain at the gate until I receive confirmation this is fully resolved. My daughters will inform me once they're back in their assigned seats. Of course, Dr. Jameson. Reynolds hesitated, then tried to soften the weight pressing down on him. If I may ask, sir, how long have you been with the company? Today marks my third day in this position, Captain, Jameson said, his tone measured, but carrying an unmistakable implication. I'm still evaluating operational compliance across all departments. The unspoken truth settled heavy in Reynolds' chest. This would be the very first incident logged in Jameson's evaluation of Sky Meridian Global. The timing could not have been worse. Or from the perspective of Lisa and Rose Jameson in economy, could not have been better. They were startled when the chief flight attendant appeared suddenly beside them. Her expression laced with urgency yet softened with deference. Miss Jameson, she said gently, addressing them with a respect that had been absent minutes earlier. I need you to come with me, please. Captain Reynolds extends his personal apologies for the confusion with your seating. We're returning you to your first-class accommodations immediately. The twins exchanged a quick glance, eyes wide, lips twitching with disbelief before, slowly rising from their cramped row in economy. What changed? Rose asked, her tone sharp enough to cut through the chief attendant's forced politeness. The smile faltered, tightening at the corners. We've realized there was an error in the reassignment protocol, she admitted, words carefully chosen. Your confirmed reservations take priority. If you'll follow me, please. The twins gathered their belongings in silence, but Lisa's phone buzzed just then. Text. She glanced down and read it quickly. Dad, document this part too. Rose gave a single, knowing nod. She checked her watch 11:59 a.m. and quietly noted the chief attendant's name, posture, and tone. The smallest details mattered now. Their walk back through the aircraft became a theater of shifting power. Just 30 minutes earlier, they had been marched down the aisle in humiliation, whispers following them like smoke. Now the same aisle became a stage of authority restored. The chief attendant herself carried their bags with reverence, her deferential manner signaling to everyone watching. These passengers are no longer ordinary. But first class was no sanctuary. It was a battleground. At seats 3A and 3B, Edward Harrington stood fuming, his cheeks blotched red, his voice sharp with outrage. Melissa hovered nearby, whispering futile explanations. "This is absolutely unacceptable," Harrington thundered. "I'm a platinum member. You cannot just—" "Mr. Harrington," the chief attendant's voice, now steel under velvet, cut straight through his fury. "I explained. There was a procedural error. These passengers," she gestured to the twins, "hold confirmed first-class reservations with timestamp priority. We must reseat you." "I don't care about timestamps," Harrington barked, chest puffed with indignation. "Do you have any idea how much business I bring to Sky Meridian? I fly this route weekly." Her expression never shifted, but her tone hardened with finality. "Sir, this is not negotiable. The reassignment is by direct order of the captain. This is a compliance issue." The word compliance landed like an electric shock. Harrington blinked, momentarily thrown off balance. "Compliance? What are you talking about?" "Demand to speak to the captain as if summoned." The cockpit door opened. Out stepped Captain Michael Reynolds, every inch the embodiment of authority. His sudden presence drew startled looks from crew and passengers alike. Captains never abandoned the flight deck this close to departure. "Mr. Harrington," Reynolds said, his voice even but unyielding. "I'm Captain Michael Reynolds. I understand there's confusion regarding the seating arrangements." "They gave me these seats," Harrington snapped, struggling to regain dominance. "And now, suddenly, they're being taken away?" "These seats," Reynolds interrupted firmly, "were confirmed to the Jameson family 73 days ago. They were reassigned to you improperly in violation of company priority protocols. We are correcting that error right now." "But I'm a platinum," Harrington began. "Status does not override confirmed reservations, sir. That is company policy." The captain's words carried the weight of final judgment. He turned then to the twins. "Miss Jameson. Miss Jameson, please reclaim your seats. You have my sincerest apologies for the confusion." The cabin froze as Captain Reynolds himself escorted the twins back to first class. Harrington's protests dissolved into silence the moment he heard the captain add, "This reassignment is under direct order of the Director of Safety Compliance, effective immediately." The transformation was startling. The same crew members who had stripped the girls of dignity an hour ago now handled them as if fragile glass, every gesture laced with exaggerated care. Melissa had quietly vanished, her absence a silent confession. Lisa leaned toward her sister as they settled into their rightful seats. "Dad called the airline." "Not just the airline," Rose whispered back, flashing her phone. "He called the Director of Operations, the VP of Customer Experience, and the captain directly. From his new work number," Lisa frowned. Rose's eyes widened as she read aloud. "Lisa, when Dad's the new safety director for the entire airline. That's why he's been so secretive." And in that instant, the weight of it struck them both. Their father's calm certainty had never been arrogance. It was authority. Authority that didn't shout, didn't beg. Authority that could ground an entire fleet with nothing more than a signature. Sometimes the most devastating power was the quietest sentence of all. "I am exactly who you fear I might be." At 12:05 p.m., 10 minutes before scheduled departure, Dr. William Jameson himself boarded. Flight 937, the effect was instantaneous. The cabin crew stiffened to attention, uniforms adjusted in haste, voices subdued with sudden reverence. The chief attendant nearly sprinted forward, while others scrambled to mask their unease with polished smiles. The twins exchanged a look. Their father hadn't just entered the plane. He had entered the story. ... Received today. Captain Reynolds' voice was steady, but the weight behind it was unmistakable. "You were entitled to the respect of both your confirmed reservations and the professional conduct of my crew. Neither was provided. That failure lies with us, not with you." Lisa and Rose exchanged a quick glance. This was no routine apology. Every word was deliberate, measured to carry authority. Even the nearby passengers, who had been feigning distraction with newspapers or phones, leaned in now, their attention fully captured. The captain bowed his head slightly, an almost imperceptible gesture of contrition. "We ask for your forgiveness. I commit to ensuring that your experience for the remainder of this flight will reflect the standards Sky Meridian promises to every passenger." A hush lingered in the cabin after he finished. For a moment, even Harrington looked subdued. His earlier outrage evaporated in the gravity of the captain's words. Dr. Jameson, still in the galley with the assembled crew, closed his portfolio with a soft but audible snap. "Thank you, Captain." That acknowledgement was necessary and appreciated. His gaze moved across the faces of the crew, pausing just long enough on Melissa for the meaning to be unmistakable. What matters now is follow-through. Protocols are only as strong as our willingness to uphold them under pressure. Melissa's eyes dropped, her cheeks flushed with the sting of unspoken rebuke. Brian shifted uneasily, though Dr. Jameson hadn't addressed him directly. Turning back toward his daughters, Jameson's voice softened for the first time since he boarded. "Lisa, Rose, you've both handled this with maturity beyond your years. Your documentation will form part of the official review." Lisa's phone buzzed softly in her hand. She glanced at the screen, then back at her father. "Already time-stamped and archived, Dad," she said, her tone professional despite the flicker of pride in her eyes. Rose added, almost to herself but loud enough for those around her to hear. "It's strange, isn't it? How quickly people change when the rules stop being flexible." Her words hung in the air, a quiet truth that even Captain Reynolds did not contest. Dr. Jameson gave a single nod, his expression unreadable, then turned back to the captain. "I'll remain on board until wheels up. After that, I'll leave you to your command. But my presence here is not symbolic, it is procedural. Consider today both an incident and a lesson." Reynolds inclined his head, a silent acknowledgement of the scrutiny that now shadowed his every move. The twins settled back into their seats, the hum of the aircraft resuming its natural rhythm. But for everyone who had witnessed the scene, the cabin felt subtly change-charged, as if invisible lines of hierarchy had been redrawn before their eyes. For the first time since boarding, Harrington remained quiet. He reached for his phone, hesitated, then lowered it again, realizing instinctively that this was not a battle he wanted immortalized in writing. And as Dr. Jameson stood calmly at the threshold between galley and cabin, it was clear to all, this was no longer just a seating dispute. It was a statement, and the airline itself was now the one under review. "The way you were removed from your confirmed seats was inconsistent with our standards and with our values." Captain Reynolds paused, his steady gaze sweeping the cabin before adding something wholly unexpected. "I've also been informed of your acceptance to the International Youth Science Summit. That is an extraordinary accomplishment, and we are honored to have you aboard this flight." A ripple of surprise stirred among the passengers. He continued, "Your proper seats have been restored, and we will ensure your journey meets the premium standards you both paid for and deserve." When the captain spoke Lisa's and Rose's names directly, acknowledging not just their grievance but their achievements, Rose instinctively reached for her sister's hand. "Your father raised two exceptional young women," Reynolds said, his voice carrying across the hushed cabin. "And our airline failed to treat you with the respect you deserve. On behalf of Sky Meridian, I sincerely apologize." The words, simple yet weighted with truth, hung suspended in the air. This wasn't merely an apology. It was recognition of dignity, long denied and now restored. Several passengers nodded in approval. One woman, unable to contain herself, began to applaud. Within seconds, the sound multiplied, polite at first, then resounding. The applause was not just for Lisa and Rose, it was for every passenger who had ever suffered indignity in silence. Wishing for exactly this moment, accountability. Dr. Jameson allowed the ovation to crest and fade before turning at last to his daughters. His tone shifted, a softer current beneath the authority. "Lisa, Roseby, before I depart, is there anything else you need?" Sisters exchanged glances, a private dialogue in a single look. Rose answered quietly, her voice steady. "No, Dad, we're good now." A flicker of warmth softened his composed demeanor. He inclined his head. "Very well." Then to the captain. "I believe Flight 937 is now clear for an on-time departure. I'll follow up regarding the incident report through official channels." As he moved toward the exit, Dr. Jameson slowed near Melissa, who had kept silent through the proceedings. Leaning slightly closer, he spoke in a voice meant for her alone. "Dignity isn't negotiable. Respect isn't optional. And accountability starts right here, right now." Her breath caught. The words landed heavier than any reprimand. Some lessons, she realized, are best delivered at 30,000 feet here. There is no escape from truth. Hours later, as Flight 937 leveled at 37,000 feet above the Atlantic, The atmosphere in first class was utterly transformed. Lisa and Rose reclined in their rightful seats, 3A and 3B. The sting of humiliation eclipsed by the extraordinary display of authority and justice they had witnessed. Justice, when delivered with precision, leaves no room for debate. The crew moved differently, now measured, careful, intent. Those uninvolved in the original dispute treated the sisters with visible deference. The chief attendant herself oversaw their service. Trays placed first, preferences honored, every detail noted. She presented 2 sleek cards embossed with Sky Meridian's crest. "I've authorized complimentary premium Wi-Fi for your entire journey," she said softly. "It's the least we can do." Lisa glanced at Rose, shaking her head politely. "Thank you, but that's not necessary." "It is necessary," the attendant replied firmly, her voice lowering. "It's now part of our formal service recovery protocol." She hesitated, then added almost in confidence, "Your father's intervention has changed things." Rose met her sister's eyes. That was an understatement. What neither twin yet knew was that, at precisely 12:37 p.m., while Flight 937 still climbed to its cruising altitude in email, with the subject line, "Immediate protocol change, effective now," had landed in the inbox of every Sky Meridian employee worldwide. Initiated by the VP of Operations and approved within minutes by the CEO, the message announced a comprehensive overhaul of seating procedures and customer interaction protocols. The change had been born midair, in a cabin where silence had once covered injustice. Now, accountability itself was airborne. More significantly, the email carried with it more than just procedural corrections, announced the birth of something new, effective immediately. Sky Meridian would implement a mandatory training module for all customer-facing staff, designed to enforce the consistent application of company policies without prejudice, without favoritism, and without the shadow of perceived passenger status clouding judgment. The Jameson family's name was absent from the memo, yet the message was crystal clear. Sometimes the best form of compensation is not in vouchers or upgrades, but in systemic change made possible because someone refused to yield. Consequences were swift and precise, calibrated like instruments in a finely tuned symphony. Melissa was escorted off the aircraft before departure, placed on administrative leave pending review. Brian, who had chosen to follow rather than to think, was reassigned to remedial training. The chief attendant, who had righted the course once informed, received a formal notice but remained in service. And Olivia, the quiet spark who had dared to document the truth, discovered an unexpected message in her inbox. An invitation to apply for a position on Sky Meridian's newly created passenger advocacy team, carrying with it Dr. Jameson's personal recommendation. In the theater of accountability, public consequence often speaks louder than whispered apologies. "Your water, sir?" the chief attendant said evenly as she leaned down to Edward Harrington. Now seated in 23D of premium economy, the highest seat available after first class had locked its doors, he took the plastic cup, his face a portrait of irritation and disbelief. Gone was the crystal, gone the privilege. "I've been a platinum member for 5 years, he muttered, voice low but tinged with bitterness. "Sir, and your status remains valued by Sky Meridian," she replied with impeccable professionalism. Yet what she did not say was this: Harrington's customer profile now carried a discreet notation, not as punishment but as a measure of quality control. Future upgrades would no longer hinge on charm, complaint, or influence, but on the cold, even hand of procedural compliance. 3 hours into the transatlantic journey, Lisa's phone chimed. The complimentary premium Wi-Fi was proving its worth. "It's from Dad," she whispered, nudging Rose as she opened the message.
Dr. Jameson's words, brief yet precise, filled the small screen.
Incident report filed. Policy review initiated. Your documentation provided crucial evidence. Well done. Enjoy Geneva. Love, Dad. Attached was a formal letter from Sky Meridian's Customer Relations Department. The language was polished and corporate, but the content spoke volumes. Upgraded return flights, additional frequent flyer miles, priority booking status for the future. The email was addressed to Dr. William Jameson and family, complete with case number and the signature of the VP of Customer Experience. "Dad didn't ask for any of this," Lisa murmured, scrolling through. He didn't have to, Rose replied softly. That's the whole point. This isn't special treatment anymore. It's systematic correction. In that moment, both sisters understood more deeply what their father had been teaching all along. Respect, once carved into the standard, has a way of sustaining itself. Meanwhile, back in 23D, Edward Harrington was undergoing a revelation of his own. The premium economy seat plush by ordinary measures felt like confinement after his fleeting time in first class. With 9 long hours stretching before him, he stared at the seatback screen, but his mind was elsewhere. He had just witnessed something rare. The downfall of entitlement and the triumph of principle played out in real time at 37,000 feet. And though he would never admit it aloud, Harrington began to realize that what he had seen might, in fact, change the way he thought about power, privilege, and respect. Power exercised not through volume or intimidation, but through precise application of knowledge and authority. The fact that it had been wielded by a black man on behalf of his daughters added a dimension Edward Harrington couldn't ignore. From his downgraded seat in premium economy, just rows from where the twins had begun their journey, he finally understood what they had always known. Position is temporary, but dignity is permanent. As the plane descended over Lake Geneva, the Alps sparkling in the morning light, Lisa and Rose sat quietly, Lisa gazing out the window, Rose rehearsing her notes. Their water filtration project was about more than science now. It was about principle, access, fairness, dignity, values that didn't depend on privilege. The landing was smooth, the announcement routine, until Captain Reynolds paused. And to our first-class passengers, Lisa and Rose Jameson, congratulations on your acceptance to the International Youth Science Summit. The acknowledgement wasn't about status. It was about respect. At the gate, the captain met them in person. His tone was professional, but his words carried weight. Your father's intervention will become a case study. It reminded us that policies aren't red tape, they're ethical guardrails. We bypass them, we bypass fairness itself. Later, near baggage claim, Harrington reappeared. His voice, once laced with entitlement, was subdued. I owe you an apology. I didn't question the reassignment. Should have. Your father handled it with more composure than most could. Good luck in Geneva. The twins nodded politely. Rose leaned in, whispering that was unexpected. Lisa replied, Dad always says dignity sets its own standard. Sometimes people change just by seeing it. And they did. Within 3 months, Sky Meridian's training program featured the Jameson incident as Lesson 1. The cost of assumptions. Complaint rates fell. Bias found fewer cracks to slip through. The quiet recalibration of a system had begun, not with outrage, but with precision. Lisa and Rose arrived in Geneva not diminished by discrimination, but strengthened by witnessing how calm certainty could tip the scales of justice. Their father had proven the lesson he had always lived. True power doesn't need to shout. It makes itself undeniable through impact. So, the next time you witness dignity being dismissed, remember, speaking up is never small. It resets the rules for everyone who comes after. Position is temporary. Dignity is permanent. If this story moved you, don't just watch, join us. Subscribe to Fate Tales for weekly narratives where dignity prevails, justice is restored, power is revealed through precision, not volume. Because position is temporary, but dignity that lasts forever.